Welcome to Green TV's special edition, televising the October 15th, 2017 Arlington County Board's debate, sponsored by the Arlington County chapter of the League of Women Voters at the Arlington Central Library, located at 1015 North Quincy Street in Arlington, Virginia. I'm Angela Trusty, your host for this special episode of Green TV. This debate includes all three candidates qualified on the 2017 November ballot for Arlington County Board. Those candidates are Audrey R. Clement, Independent and Virginia Green Party member, Eric Gutschall, Democrat, Arlington County, and Charles A. McCullough II, Independent and Arlington County Green Party member. It is Green TV's policy to televise debates which include all candidates on the ballot and to cover the independents and the Green Party candidates who are in them. This year, there are three candidates qualified for the debate for Virginia governor, yet only two have been allowed in the debate. One of the primary purposes of Green TV is to advocate for the inclusion of all ballot qualified candidates to be invited to these debates. In years past, many independent candidates have watched from the audience. Green TV hopes to be able to televise debates where all candidates are included. This Arlington County Central Library is a lovely facility, available without charge to all meetings which are open to the public. The large meeting room can accommodate up to 35 people. Arlington County Board in 2016 had 152,927 registered voters. We believe that we are providing a valuable service to the community by televising this debate. And we believe that our democracy works better when the voting public is informed on all the candidates and the issues they wish to bring to the public space. We hope you will support public access television and Green TV in this endeavor. And now, let the debate begin.
Finally, I've done some other things along the way. Things like, has anybody heard about lighting the fields at Williamsburg Middle School? I chaired a work group for 18 months that looked at that issue. And what else have I done? I actually served as an alternate on the Drew Model Elementary School and the South Arlington Elementary School work group. As I mentioned earlier, I was a member of the Board of Directors for Doorways for Women and Families. Thank you.
Well, currently I am a member of the Arlington Coalition for Sensible Transportation. I've been a member of that organization since about 2006. And as a member of that organization, I sued the state of Virginia and VDOT all the way up to the Fourth Circuit Court of Appeals to stop the widening of eastbound I-66 in 2010. However, you will not see my name on the Transportation Commission, and you will also not see my name on the E2C2 committee, which is the Arlington's environmental committee, even though I'm a staunch environmentalist, for a very specific reason. And this reason was revealed by Mr. John Weistat when he was elected in 2014. He began to actively recruit members of boards and commissions that he knew were sympathetic to some of his ideas, and of course I was one of those. But he learned to his dismay that I was not eligible for any board or commission in the county, Arlington County, for a very specific reason. And that is because I'm a candidate for political office. I've been a candidate for political office since 2011, and that effectively bars me from seeking any position of influence or accountability within the county. If you have any doubt about that, I think you should consult with county board members. I think everyone in this room will agree with me that that is also manifestly unfair, because it denies me the opportunity to get the experience that some people might think that I need in order to serve as an elected official. So when people ask this question about relevant experience, I think they need to take that into consideration, that certain people in this county are barred from appointed positions because they are politically active. That's basically what it boils down to. And thank you.
Alphabetical again, so you might as well hold on. This question is, cities like New York and others have recently created programs within their economic development agencies that provide funding and technical assistance for the creation of worker-owned and self-managed cooperative enterprises. They also give them preference in city contract bidding. This will help employing workers who face significant hurdles in terms of joining the labor market. What do you think that Arlington should do, if anything, to follow these cities' leads?
Well, I certainly support the co-op movement. I believe that there is evidence that co-ops work very effectively when traditional business models fail. Arlington is unique, however, insofar as it doesn't have much of an industrial base. In other words, there's no failing industrial operation that I know of in the county right now that could be taken over by a co-op. But there is a place for co-ops in this county, namely housing co-ops. I happen to live in one of the communities that's currently being recycled. It's the Westover community. We've already lost 9 buildings, demolished, the tenants thrown out, luxury townhouses replacing them. And I just heard yesterday, believe it or not, while I was on the campaign trail dropping literature in Westover, that 4 more are slated to go. Meanwhile, the county sits on its hands. It refuses to act on a petition that would declare the Westover community historic, local historic, and thus prevent these any further demolitions. And as I understand it, the county is not interested in forming co-ops that whereby tenants might get together to buy up some of these properties themselves. If I were elected to county board, that's what I would do. I would explore initiatives at the state level that would enable the county to capitalize the formation of a co-op or one or more co-ops to preserve affordable apartments that are currently slated for demolition. So yes, I think there is a place for the co-op movement in the county, but it is in the area of preserving affordable housing. And I believe that model has also worked in New York City with tremendous effect, and there's absolutely no reason why it can't work here. But meanwhile, the county is not doing anything. It is simply paying lip service to affordable housing.
Another great question, because it really gets to the heart of where is the future of Arlington going? As a small business owner and someone who has worked, sometimes toiled, sometimes struggled, blood, sweat, and tears to build my business, I am very keenly aware that our small businesses are the heart and soul of our community, and they're also our future. One thing I know for sure, whether or not the co-op model is ultimately the right solution for Arlington is something that we can certainly explore. But one thing is for sure, that what I know is that we want to be known as the hub of innovation, the place where if you've got a good business idea, if you want to be in an environment where the county government is helpful and friendly to your business, where you're surrounded by folks, where you get that synergy and you have the opportunities to find the capital, to find the marketing, to do those sorts of things, we want to be known as that place. And what I can tell you is that generally, I believe that in market-driven solutions, I think that that's how we know that you get to the right place and you have the right wherewithal to get there. What the county government can do, though, in terms of helping small businesses, it's not about providing money to them. It's about providing information and tools and opportunity, technical assistance. And this is something, again, why I love Arlington, because we are citizen-driven. We have our Citizen Economic Development Commission. They've actually been looking at this and exploring it, and they have a set of principles, a vision for where Arlington should be heading into the future. And so I think that this is the kind of effort that really should come from the ground up. I also love in Arlington that we have a tremendous nonprofit network, and it is the role of the county government to work with our nonprofits, again with that technical assistance. So I think that's the rightful place for any kind of direct subsidies.
As a small business owner, I have to say that this question really gets to the heart of how we want to develop economically in Arlington and where our focus should be. And I think our focus should be on small businesses. Instead of giving these multi-million-dollar payouts to the likes of Nestle, that's $6 million we gave them to actually pay for, in some part, for their moving expenses, if you can believe that. Why don't we reinvest that in local small businesses here? The reason why co-ops, and I support co-ops, and I think what we should do is make sure we can incent development of co-ops. The reason why I like that is because it's a business model that really concentrates on fair business practices when it comes to not just hiring, but to fair pay. So and that's really what co-ops are about, because you are a part owner in the business. See, these are the types of businesses that have their arms out to embrace Arlington instead of their hands out to take money from us, like a lot of these, multinational companies. Small businesses account for about 56% of also new business development in the country. So what else can we do? We can work with organizations like BizLaunch. That can help our small businesses. We should also make sure that we are cognizant of the needs that small businesses have. I was actually reading this interesting stat, it's good to be here at the League of Women Voters, about particularly women-owned small businesses. And a big issue with women-owned small businesses is finding financing support. The county, again, what we could have done with that $6 million, helped by working with local banks and local credit unions to make sure we could be a part of a guarantor so we could have low interest loans for women who want to start small business who otherwise may not be able to find loan options from traditional big corporate banks that don't look out for the needs of communities like a local bank here in Arlington would do. So there's a lot of tools that we could use. Co-ops are just one of them.
Mr. Gutschall goes first on this one. We have two housing questions. First, how will you promote affordable housing? It's a loaded question.
It's pretty wide open. Well, I would say that I have sort of a two-pronged approach. First and foremost, it should not be left unsaid that I really fundamentally believe that housing affordability is perhaps the defining issue of our time. Like many of you, many in the community, Renee and I, we would probably not be able to afford to buy our home today if we hadn't bought it 20 years ago. And that is frankly very concerning. I know that there are a lot of seniors as you age in the community and your income becomes fixed, but the cost to maintain a home, including the taxes on it, continue to rise, and that puts pressure. Young families just starting out have very, very limited options. So here's what I would say, is that in my time on the Planning Commission, and even prior to that, I worked towards the passage of our Affordable Housing Master Plan. We've got several very specific goals in there that we need to make sure that we follow through on. The fundamental point of that is making sure that we fully fund our Affordable Housing Investment Fund. Some of that money comes out of developer contributions, and some of it comes directly out of our county budget. It's very critical that we we maintain that funding for that program. But the second major approach is what's called missing middle housing. This is the idea, the Affordable Housing Master Plan and that Affordable Housing Investment Fund are really targeted towards those that make either 80% of area median income or below, or 60% or 40%. Missing middle is all about how can we use the market, how can we modernize our old-fashioned zoning ordinance to allow the market to develop small-scale, neighborhood-scale housing along our major transportation corridors that would fit the budget and be attractive to seniors that want to age in the community, young families just starting out, and everyone in between. We can do it. I'll use my planning and zoning experience to get it done. Thank you.
This housing affordability is my number one issue. That's why I even addressed it in my opening. And I've seen what housing affordability is like personally, because like I said, I live in a little place, man. 500 square feet, I can barely fit this table in where I live. And in the unit, the building that I live in, a lot of our units are just that small. Now, 10 years ago when I first came here, there was just a bunch of singles like me. They were just starter places. But now, 10 years later, so many families in my hallway, because that's all that can be afforded, and that's not right. See, it's not all just about the type of housing you provide, or maybe a new concept of a smaller type housing. Well, the underlying land is just too expensive. So we have to think about new tools, a multifaceted approach, because we can't necessarily just build our way out of this. So that's why I talk with number one, making sure that everyone pays their fair share. Right now, developers aren't. They're only paying 1/3 of the fee that could be charged to them under state law when they decide not to provide affordable housing. We need to make sure they're charged more, because then that money can go into our fund that we use to provide affordable housing vouchers for the elderly, for those with disabilities, for those in need. Right now, that plan that Eric talked about, the one passed in 2005, you know, of 295 possible affordable units that could be built on that plan, only 30 were. So we need to think different. Because of my experience working in other cities, I know tools like community land trust, like co-living, like housing cooperatives. Those are all tools that we can use here in Arlington. That's why we need an independent on the board to offer new ideas and to be unencumbered from, you know, state regulation.
I'm not surprised there's all these questions about housing, Joan. This really is, I think, as I said, the chief issue facing our generation this time. And this is another great one, because it does again cut to the chase in terms of how are we going to move on into the future and embrace the future and understand that we have the opportunity to shape what that is. I absolutely support enabling someone to share their home, whether it be in what's sometimes called a granny flat or a carriage house, or to have a rentable apartment in their basement with some common sense controls. And this is the work of the Planning Commission and our Long Range Planning Committee. We've been looking at this. There was a special group that looked exactly at this issue, and it's coming forward next month, and I intend to vote to support it. This also, I think, is very illustrative of the earlier point I was trying to make about the value of planning. So this did not come out of the blue. This was actually part of, and all due respect, Josh, it was the 2015 Affordable Housing Master Plan. So it was just adopted a couple years ago. And there's a lot of tenets to it, not just any one specific thing. And one of the tenets of that was to look at this. The other thing was that came out of the Affordable Housing Master Plan was also to look at what Audrey mentioned earlier, the housing conservation districts. So the whole point here is these things are not happening haphazardly. They're happening because a group of citizens gets together. We invite input from all around the county, all different stakeholders. We work with our nonprofits. We have a fantastic nonprofit housing advocacy community here in the county. And we develop these plans, and then we seek about how to implement them. And yes, Audrey, the Housing Conservation District is within our legislative authority. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, these things don't happen haphazardly, but sometimes they are implemented haphazardly. And that really goes to the accessory dwelling unit. Is a case in point. You know, we actually have a regulation on the books since 2009, but under that, only 20 accessory dwellings units were built because the county made the regulations just too onerous. So that's one thing I will always be looking out for. Again, with a background as an attorney, a background working with communities as a small business owner, just making sure that the regulations that we put forward on the county just aren't too laborious to do the things we want to do. Accessory dwelling units, of course, I think that's a great option, but guess what? I do also believe we are a county that's better than if you earn 5 figures, all you can afford is to live in a granny flat. We have to want more for that, for Arlington and for our community. That, you know, so we have to look at other and additional tools and options. We talked about, it's come up with us, the Housing Conservation District. That's a great notion. You know, they're looking at focusing in Westover, maybe Boston, maybe Roslyn. And if we do that, I like the notion of making sure we focus on retention, renovation, what we can do to create new in this area, what we can do to incent redevelopment without bulldozing in this area so that stays affordable. What we have to make sure, though, is these HCDs don't become a wink and a nod for a ghettoized area. We have to make sure that doesn't happen. And too often, programs like this that say only affordable in this area, be it certified or marketplace, will create that. We don't want that for Westover. We don't want that for Boston. We don't want that for Roslyn. That's not our Arlington. So what we, again, need to do, make sure developers pay their fair share and they fund that affordable housing investment fund. Right now, the county government was able to put in $15 million into that last year, but guess what? That wasn't enough to even fund a full Queens Court development, so we have to do more.
Well, the old clock on the wall tells us that we are done with questions, believe it or not, and we are going to have closing statements. Each candidate has 2 minutes. I didn't have to use the button. I appreciate that. And we will go in reverse alpha order. So, Mr. McCauley, you're up first.
Thank you. Thank you again, Joan, for moderating. And again, thank you all for coming out tonight. This election is about the power we have to maintain unique character of our communities and invigorate our businesses by having a progressive, independent voice on the board, unencumbered by party considerations, able to keep an open mind to ideas from across the political spectrum and press for more meaningfully inclusive policymaking. Your zip code, your place on the political spectrum, your ability to spend hours in a meeting should not prevent your concerns from being respectfully heard and timely responded by county staff. You deserve to expect results from the county board on the issues that affect your life. We've discussed some of those issues tonight and what the better possibilities my progressive platform and my experience in getting these done can bring to you, your neighbors, and our children. On the issue of transportation, my progressive platform envisions an Arlington where we finally hold Metro accountable for safety and service, where I-66 does not mean that we're going to have a lot of cars zipping through our neighborhoods. On the issue of housing, I will advocate for you to be meaningfully included to make sure developers pay their fair share, to make sure that we have new tools like co-ops, like co-living community spaces, so we can continue to have the diverse neighborhoods that we like. I'm sure each of you already has a plan to early vote, absentee vote, or go to the polls on November 7th. As for me, before I vote, I'm going to go back to knocking doors in your neighborhood these next 3 weeks. So, that's my full-time commitment when elected, which is to be in the community, to listen, and to timely respond. So if what I've said resonates with you, and you want to come and walk along with me these next 3 weeks, please see me after this meeting or see me online at votemccullough.com, and let's walk together and have that conversation hand in hand about what we can do for Arlington. Thank you.
Well, thanks once again for the opportunity to be here. It truly is an honor to be a candidate among some very well-qualified candidates here. I do hope that I will earn your vote, though, on November 7th. I'm Eric Gutschall. I'm focused on the future, and I want to make sure that Arlington remains that place that we all love so dearly, that we have this wonderful woman that I met earlier who went away for 25 years, and she's come back to live here in Arlington again because of this great progressive success story that we have. I think in some of the questions, and they're very good questions, but sometimes we have a tendency to focus on what's not quite right and where can we do better. And that's absolutely valid and something that we should do. As someone who owns a business and who believes very much in the process of continual improvement, you do want to look at where you can do better. But I think we should also recognize where we have great strengths. We have a phenomenal transportation infrastructure. We have great, solid schools that are diverse and inclusive, and we're working on the geographic distribution of that diversity, but we still have have a lot of it. We have an excellent school system. We have a wonderfully prosperous community. We have a strong start, a very strong start on a very solid, sustainable community. I'm very proud to have earned the endorsement of the Sierra Club for my work on furthering that. We also have, though, the opportunity to actually reach for something more. We have the opportunity to envision the kind of community that we want to be in. That includes things that we didn't get a chance to talk about tonight, like urban agriculture, meaning having not necessarily chickens, Can you have it? Meaning, though, growing more of our food right here where we live. About more ways to integrate our educational system, our schools, with our senior community. We can do these things. I encourage you to check out my platform at ericforarlington.com and vote November 7th.
Arlington has a spending problem. The board just voted to approve the design of a new Lover Run Community Center with a whopping $47.9 million price tag. The new Wilson High School is currently estimated at $100 million. By comparison, the town of Vienna recently completed renovating its community center for just $6.5 million. And the cost of the new high school under construction in Loudoun County is a little over $80 million, much less than the projected cost of Wilson High. It costs almost $19,000 per student per year to educate our children in Arlington. At the same time, it costs less than $15,000 per student per year for Fairfax County School District to teach its kids. It's obvious that Arlington taxpayers are paying a lot more for the same public services than elsewhere in Northern Virginia. This is not only wasteful, it may also prove to be unsustainable in the long run if Trump's proposed federal budget cuts go into effect. Arlington County needs new leadership to reform the way our local government is administered. It needs independent leadership. As an independent candidate and longtime civic activist with a PhD in political science and service as a congressional fellow, I'm qualified to fill that role. To find out more about my campaign, visit my website, audreyclement.com. Better still, you can make a difference by endorsing my candidacy, donating to my campaign, or volunteering to help on Election Day. Together, we can make the Arlington Way more than an empty phrase.
Tomorrow is the last day to register to vote. If you haven't done it already, I assume everyone is here is registered, but we do have forms. We also have voter absentee applications. If you're not going to be here or you can't get down to the courthouse.
One more thing, a number of you have put up, we've got 6 or 7 more questions. I'm going to, the league is going to type them up and we will get them to the candidates via email. So they will know your questions. We have more questions. We'll type them up and send them to each of you. Okay?
Thank you. On behalf of we'll have a few minutes to break. There's food over there if you'd like some. Great.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
And there you have it, a free and open debate for the Arlington County Board's open seat, featuring all candidates qualified on the ballot: Charles A. McCullough II, Eric Gutschall, and Audrey R. Clement. Remember, renewable energy is free energy, clean energy. Rail is safer and can run on renewable energy. We need more trains, less traffic. Rail built anywhere in America benefits all of America. That's it for today's Green TV's Arlington County Board Debate Special. I'm Angela Trusty. Please join us again next time for Green TV.